Corey Feldman is a lolcow. He's someone that we've laughed at ironically for almost a decade. If he had just retired into former child actor status, making the occasional appearances, meet and greets, and conventions, this guy would only be talked about and remembered fondly by 80s movie nerds. But no! He insisted on being taken seriously as a legitimate recording artist. Before making this video, I had no idea just how long Corey Feldman was trying to break into the music industry. To the average person who follows Corey ironically, you, me, and everybody else had no idea this guy even made music until that psychotic Angelic to the Core album dropped and he started making all these weird appearances on morning shows looking like a crazy person. But no, that's just late stage Corey cringe. There is so much more when you dive deeper. About 4 years ago, Corey released this ridiculous box set that contained a reissue of his album Love Left, some B-sides, an entirely new album which is supposed to be a sequel to his first album. I started a GoFundMe after hearing about this stupid ass box set that he released. I think most people who were paying attention just got confused by the whole packaging and promotion and just thought Corey was reissuing his first album. But no, he slid under the radar, a brand new album of material. Stick around as I go completely in depth on this entire box set. This was quite a task. This is Dancing with Ghosts. So let's talk about the packaging right off the bat. This thing is massive. I had no idea it would be this thick and this big.
Which is what the ladies say about me, am I right?
And don't you worry, I'm going to go in depth about this box art, but first let's see what's inside this fucker. So the first thing I see is a clearly unofficial Low Serve Ill tour placard. It says, the Corey Feldman Band are ready to rock. You see, Corey still thinks it's the 90s, and it's still really cool to write out words as single letters and numbers, so this comes as no surprise. So here's Corey looking like a creepy insect with those weird sunglasses that wrap all the way around his beady little cocaine eyes. Then there's his bandmates who he has a clear and deep disdain for, who constantly let him down live. I'm kind of pissed because his website advertises his 2017 Corey's Heavenly Tour placard, but I guess he ran out of those, so I get the Loserville one instead. We get some great shitty stickers that literally look like something my uncle's cover band would have made in their garage. I later found out that this is actually the album art to his new album. Wow! This is what a boomer would look at and go, hell yeah, brother, rock on. That's a pretty badass sticker. You get two heart-shaped guitar picks that say Corey Feldman on one side and either Love Left or Love Left 2, Arm Me With Love. These are actually a decent thickness, pretty similar to the picks I actually used on stage, but again, these are precious collectibles that I will only use if my band opens for either Corey Feldman or Rex Viper. You get a pair of Corey's classic Wayfarers that he wears in such classic movies as License to Drive. I'm going to assume black generic sunglasses like this can't be very expensive to buy in bulk, but whatever, it's part of the Corey lore. The Corey lore! Now let's get to the camp. You get this little booklet that is supposed to emulate those teen beat magazines of the 1980s with all the teenage girls coming to their sexual awakenings reading these things, and this one is all about the Feldster. Holy fucking shit, this font is the size of a gnat's cock! How the fuck is anyone supposed to read this without a magnifying glass? There is so much Feldog lore in this thing, it's pretty overwhelming, but what you can definitely expect is for Corey to write like this for everything in this pamphlet. There are spelling errors, words will be randomly capitalized. The pamphlet starts out well enough with its cheesy Trapper Keeper color scheme and design, but then at some point, probably somewhere past the centerfold of an elderly Corey trying to be sexy, the theming for this thing goes right out the window and the backgrounds turn into just whatever the fuck. Some of these backgrounds look like they were harvested from your boomer aunt's Facebook page. I will say though, if you're a legitimate fan of Corey Feldman, there is a healthy dosage of behind the scenes photos that may be of some interest to even the most casual fans of pop culture history. Because as much of a clown as the Feldster is these days, there was a point where Corey Feldman held a great deal of sway and legitimacy in Hollywood, where he helped a lot of girls. Sorry, I had to. Finally, we get to the reason all of you have been edging this entire time, the proper Feldog box set of music. If I'm being honest, I don't even know what all I'm fucking getting here. There are 6 CDs, and I'm trying to make sense of what all of this shit is. The first CD is Corey's original debut album, Love Left. that has supposedly been remixed in a 5.1 in stereo mix, along with some songs being, quote, occasionally reimagined. Don't exactly know what that means, but I can only assume they made it sound less shitty than the original album. The second CD is called Karaoke Cabaret because he has to force his fucking name into everything he does. It's literally instrumentals of all the songs off his first album. Well, I should say most of the songs off his first album, just in case you want to sing karaoke in your living room of some crappy obscure songs from the mid-90s that no one else has ever heard of. The third CD is called The Love Lost Tapes, which is unreleased material from 86 to 94, which was shelved by the record label because they were probably still trying to squeeze as much office draw from Corey as possible and didn't want to deviate from what was working. The fourth disc is The Money Shot, folks. This is a brand new album that, through confusing marketing, completely flew under my radar. Much like Billy Corgan, Corey Feldman is claiming that this album is a spiritual successor to Corey's first album, Love Left. This is the album that the runaway hit Comeback King lives on, so this should be exciting indeed. The fifth and sixth CDs are actually DVDs with all kinds of bonus shit on there that I'm pretty excited to delve into, but before I have the honor and distinction of reviewing all of this fucking music, let's hyper-focus on the box art, because it unknowingly unveils yet another layer inside the mind of Corey Feldman. So, this is essentially what his first album looked like, but with a lot more shit added to it. Obviously, the original album art was hand-drawn by either the Feldster himself or someone he knew who could kind of remotely draw. The quality on this is still on the level of a fairly talented 13-year-old. For a major label release, this looks like dog shit. And why the monochrome purple and off-white colors? Could they not afford a full-color design? Well, feast your eyes on Love Left 2.0. Blam! Corey and the coat of many colors over here. Jesus, I will say this thing is eye-catching in the same sense that you would congratulate a 13-year-old's end-of-the-year art project. It's at this point I would like to obsessively go over the images we have on the box. First, every image on this box set was redrawn or touched up except the Corey Feldman name, which was kind of the worst part of the original design aside from Corey himself. There's no consistency in width or perspective on each of these individual letters. The C, for instance, is rather narrow, but then we get to the R and it's like a completely different font style. And that pretty much goes for every letter that spells out Corey Feldman. The artist just freehanded it, and it is one of the first things that draws your attention to how unprofessional this art is. As far as every other aspect of this artwork goes, it's all been revamped and new illustrations have been added, all to great confusion. The stabby woman in her underwear on Corey's shoulder makes a reappearance and is drawn more capably, but again, one has to ask, why is there a woman wielding a dagger wearing only her underwear in fuck me pumps who is the size of a wood nymph on Corey's shoulder looking like she's about to stab him? Then you have this Tarzan lady to Corey's left who is this Sophia Loren looking figure that seemingly serves no purpose aside from the fact that she was on the original album cover, so consistency, I guess? The Feldog himself got a pretty decent makeover compared to the original album art, which, aside from the awful Corey Feldman logo, was the second shittiest thing about this piece. They fixed a lot of the asymmetry in Corey's face. They made his hair look like actual hair and not like a giant tarantula crawling down his head like in the original. Just overall, the new illustration looks much more cleaner with greater detail. The only thing that confuses me is what appears to be some artifacts that weren't cleaned up on the top of Corey's head. Why is there this needless green blotch? Being a graphic designer, the only time I see this happening is when you try to key yourself out of a frame using green screen effects. But if you have messy hair, it's really hard to erase the green from all of the fine strands that are sticking up. Of course, the technique that I just showed you on screen is pretty archaic based on modern standards for keying out an image. I mean, you can literally just hit a button now and it does it for you, but I'm assuming Corey's team didn't have that knowledge or capability. This tells me that Photoshop was used at some point and the graphic designer didn't know how to remove the excess green screen, or there was a direct order from Corey not to attempt to erase it, lest you erase some of Corey's fantabulous hair. Next on this box, we get some new images that only cause more confusion. We have some 1970s rock star guy. Why? Well, upon further shittier research, this is Daniel Guitar from Corey's 1991 film Rock and Roll High School Forever. But for whatever reason, Corey also has a social conscience, and even though the original album was released over 30 years ago, Corey wanted to bring this album into the 2010s by adding some Black Lives Matter imagery that says, "I can't breathe," which of course is a nod to the whole George Floyd, Eric Gardner situations, which I am not getting into because it's literally not relevant to 99% of this box set. But even still, it wasn't enough to have a BLM protester on the box. You also have a white cop pointing a gun at the back of the protester's head because, cops totally do that. I think it's pretty safe to say that Corey Feldman is totally plugged into the times and has clearly done his homework. This isn't some pandering Hollywood virtue signal, no way. Anyway, aside from all that, the 1960s flower power colorful wavy lines are certainly vibrant and eye-catching. This looks like the shoebox that a clown would keep their drug paraphernalia in. So enough beating around the dick. If you've hung out for this long, you clearly want to know my thoughts on the stupid Corey Feldman CDs that I suffered myself to listen to for your viewing pleasure. Yeah! Let's start out with the first one, Love Left, 1994. So overall, the things I wrote down here is Corey had developed this gravelly voice early on in his career. It was something that I pointed out in my Angelic to the Core video. I compared the second album, Rockadelic or whatever it was called. It sounded like a constipated Gene Simmons. Well, turns out he had cultivated this voice all the way back on this album, and he uses this voice, and it sounds so forced and stressing out of his vocal cords. You can almost hear like this gargliness in the back of the throat, like he's just gargling spit when he's like, oh! It's so off-putting, like. And I hear it very clearly, so that's disturbing. When he's not doing Gene Simmons, he's trying to sing like a black soul singer.
Check it on the white boy, looking at the blind ones, maybe they will make fun.
But no matter how he's singing at any moment, it sounds completely put on. It's almost as though he's like mocking the people who are actually talented in whatever genre he's trying to mimic at that point. So here we have the first record, Love Left. This was remixed and reimagined and remastered. So first track, Perfect Woman. The beginning of this song sounds like people's impersonation of porno music. They do this really annoying panning effect in the second verse where they hard pan Corey's voice from the left headphone to the right headphone in a very distracting way.
She got perfect touch, she got perfect lies that beats.
Other than that, this song is cliched funk rock talking about there's no such thing as a perfect woman. Okay, Corey, very, very astute observation. I think when you make every woman you meet sign an NDA, there's no wonder you might have some simmering woman hate just below the surface. Track 2 is called Lethal Lolita. This track starts out with a fake out intro of a soft piano instrumental when BAM! Here comes Corey fucking Feldman with this constipated Gene Simmons vocal. Towards the end of the song, they do this extreme panning between Corey's voice and the lead guitar. They're just swimming around your head if you're wearing headphones. I'm assuming this panning effect is going to be on all of the songs on this album, so they can have a reason to show off the supposed 5.1 surround sound mix that they advertised. I don't think Corey knows exactly what a 5.1 surround sound mix means, so he just had the engineer do some extreme panning with his voice and other instruments so he can chalk it up to, it's surround, guys. It's surrounding you, isn't it? Just throw the 5.1 in there. I don't know what it means, but it sounds fancy. In all honesty, I've seen bands that have done this correctly, Genesis being one of them. You literally can't have a 5.1 surround mix and a stereo mix on the same CD. It's totally different processes, so Corey's advertisement of 5.1 and new stereo mixes are bullshit. Because this would need to be double the CDs, with one CD being the new stereo mix and the other one being the 5.1 surround mix. Just another chink in the chain where Corey Feldman never fails to fail. The third song is called Love Left, is the namesake of the album. This sounds like some classic Corey, just generic funk rock and some genius vocal exploration by the Feldster. When the first verse kicks in, he does this weird R roll on the word problem. I've been thinking about our problem.
I've been thinking about a problem.
Why did he do that? Is he not, like, taking this song seriously? He fucking does it again in the second verse.
Sex and violence are what we respect.
This is not cool, Corey. This shit sucks so hard. What is your reference point to even think that this vocal delivery might work? Or are you that egotistical that you think you're making something so innovative that surely the mainstream music critics will stop and take note? Well, there's a difference between being innovative and just fucking cringe. We get to the fourth song, Walk, which, I don't know, this is the big hit of the record in my mind. This has got to be the big hit because Corey still plays this particular song to this very day during his shows. Gotta walk away, gotta stand my ground, gotta walk away. I mean, I love that lyric, dude. It's like, mate, are you walking away or are you standing your fucking ground? It's like, that's our Corey for you. He has even more inspirational lyrics towards the end of the song where he just goes into this spazzy, gotta walk, gotta run, gotta walk, gotta run.
Gotta walk, gotta run, gotta get, gotta walk, gotta run, gotta get away, gotta get away.
This song has some of the ugliest voice box guitar work I've ever heard. Shit sounds so obnoxious.
Talk to me.
I just love how Corey has to hire an entire ass musician for his live shows because this is the only song that has a saxophone on it. So if Corey wants to play Walk Away live, he's gonna need that saxophonist. Personally, I would have just used backing tracks because it's Corey Feldman. It already sucks. Why try to make it good? He starts doing all this creepy mouth sounds and shit at the end of the song, like... And of course, all of this is panned and zooming all over your head in an annoying way, again, to utilize that whole, hey guys, it's 5.1 surround sound. Listen to my music isn't just a thing to do, it's an experience. Next, we get the song, By Got. Is it supposed to be Bigot? I don't know. Tired funk tropes musically kick this song off with Corey's constipated Gene Simmons vocal coming in clutch, and you can really hear that gargled strain in Corey's voice.
Take it on the whiteboard.
And he's trying to do this black guy soul singer thing, but he's just kind of mumbling through the words like he's having a stroke. It's really quite pathetic to listen to.
Looking at the blind ones, maybe they will make fun. Do you think the handgun stop?
This is Corey's big kumbaya song in regards to racial unity. It's corny and cliche. Though I thought this stupid song was a play on the word bigot. No, I was right the first time. He literally pronounces it by God in the chorus of the song.
By God, by God, yeah.
Like, God, Corey, you are so prolific. You never fail to fail. The next track is called D-Pressed. Like, this dude's a fucking wordsmith here with his play on the English language. Makes me a little depressed. This sparsely mixed staccato guitar funk must be Corey's calling card because it's present all over this record. If you want an example of what I'm talking about, just recall, the joke is on you! Corey really likes those short bursts of vocals or musical passages. I think it's fine for a song or two, but he puts it on fucking everything. This song sucks, by the way, and it's over 6 minutes long. The next song is called It's So Simple. This is the FELDOG's attempt at Bon Jovi. It's a would-be acoustic ballad, but it's Corey Feldman singing, so it's awful. Up next, we've got Feeling Funky. This song would fit perfectly on disc 1 of Angelic to the Core. This is an 80s drum machine-driven funk song with some Michael Jackson-esque vocalizations.
Now things have changed, my mind has rearranged, my soul's in motion.
At this point in Corey's life, he's yet to fully assimilate the Michael Jackson vocal impression, but we can certainly see it starting to form in this song. You fuck. Towards the middle of the song, Corey starts doing all these annoying ass mouth noises, much like Michael Jackson, but since Corey is such a fucking wannabe, his attempts are just cringe as shit. God, this guy is annoying. Up next, we have Vision for You. Okay, so this song is called Vision for You. I would say in 1994, it was still hip to use numbers and letters in place of words, but sadly, Corey would hold on to this way of writing well into his 50s, way after this kind of nomenclature was deemed lame. But Corey is a fairly elderly man who stopped taking in new information about 30 years ago, so to him it's still fucking cool. The song itself sounds like it comes straight out of 1986. It's a reverb-laden pop song that is attempting to ape DeBarge or Bobby Brown, but as you may have guessed, fails miserably and really screws up the flow of this entire record, because nothing else on this record sounds like this song, but not in a cool, innovative way, in a distracting, why was this on here way. By 1994, the musical landscape had changed so dramatically from the 80s. All of the artists who were around Corey's age at this time were putting out more alternative and folk-centric albums. Meanwhile, this dildo is doing play-pretend adult contemporary funk music with vocals that are almost mocking the genre. There is a reason nobody knew Corey Feldman did music until his Weird Angels phase in 2016, when it became just too bizarre to ignore. But before that, why the hell would you choose to listen to this kind of crap unless you were just such a diehard fan of this dude's movies? But even then, it still doesn't really make sense. Sadly, though, this is not where the music review ends. Up next in this beast of a box set, we get the Corey Feldman B-sides. According to his little Tiger Beat magazine pamphlet, these were the songs that he wanted to release throughout the years of 1986 to 1994, but for whatever reason, the record label he was on at the time kept shelving all of his genius, so here we are. If Loved Left was a representation of all the songs that were good enough to make it onto his first record, I fucking shudder to think what these songs on this collection are going to sound like. The first song, Runaway, my god, dude, this song sounds like it's being played through a fucking telephone. What the hell is up with the quality of this recording?
Out on the street, you got no home. You don't have friends and
Say what you want about all of Corey's other music, but at least it's MP3 quality and audible. This is a degraded mess. According to Corey's little pamphlet that comes with the box set, he had a collection of tapes that need to be baked for them to even be able to be accessed. This is a bizarre process when it comes to old master tapes that I won't get into right now, but suffice to say, the quality of this track, which is the first song on the album, sounds like something you'd find on an old VHS tape found in a ditch. And I'm rather shocked that Corey would even include this crap for public consumption. I thought even the FELDMAN'S had his limits, but apparently he doesn't. Except for when it comes to What's Up With The Youth, which is the one song he left off this box set because he got so embarrassed when he played it at Howard Stern that he thought that was the turning point when everyone started mocking him. Which sucks, because I really wanted What's Up With The Youth. The next song on this mishmash of crap is a song called Something in Your Eyes, and it's your standard 1980s AOR that you'd hear in any 80s action movie or coming-of-age tale. It's actually not the worst thing in the world. In fact, this might be the best song I've heard in this entire collection so far. But please, let me stress to you that that is really, really not saying much at all. I will also point out Corey seems to be singing in what feels like more of a natural way than in any of his other songs I've heard thus far. He was still pretty young in the late 80s, so his voice was noticeably a bit higher, so maybe that's what made the difference. So up next we have It's So Simple, the Drum Machine demo, and it definitely sounds like a demo. Oddly enough, this song features the vocals of Alfonso Ribeiro. Yeah, Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is collabing with the FELDMAN'S. I mean, that tracks, I guess.
Feel a feeling, you've got to live it. And when you see the money in your pocket and the kids on the street,
Either way, this song is trash. There are 2 demo versions of this song that are back-to-back on this collection, and the Feldster felt like we needed to hear both. So the next song is also It's So Simple, but with real drums instead of a drum machine. Spoilers, it didn't save the song. The next song, Raucous Danny, is another demo that features a pretty interesting atmospheric synth intro, but then devolves into more 80s AOR cock rock. This was one of Corey's soundtrack songs he co-wrote and performed for the movie Rock and roll high school forever. This was in Corey's flop era of the 1990s, where his movie roles had started sliding down into the C and D tiers, which is probably why he was finally allowed to have some creative control over the musical aspects of this movie. Because fuck it at that point. Why not? Let him write some songs. The next song is called Rock Us Danny Part 2, but this time Daniel Guitar, the main character, duh, why wouldn't you already know that, has apparently gone from rock icon to drugged out loser. Yes, unfortunately, I actually paid attention to the lyrics this whole time. The next song is called Love Safe Getaway from the National Lampoon movie Last Resort. It's another soundtrack song, and there's really nothing to say about it, and that goes for the rest of the songs on this collection. They're all either demos or live versions of songs that have already appeared elsewhere on this CD compilation or his first album, so mercifully, I'm going to move on to the last album of this box set. Before I talk about Corey's new album, I will say regarding the Karaoke Cabaret CD that came with this collection, yeah, it's literally just instrumental tracks. And no, there's nothing interesting to be had there. It's literally a nothing burger. It's shit. Do you like his first shitty album? Well, it's instrumentals of that, just without his voice. And the instrumentals are not all that interesting. All right, guys, this is the new album. This is the album that is the sequel, spiritually, I guess, to Corey's first album, Love Left. I will say the marketing of this album was extremely confusing at best, or non-existent at worst. I thought this was some kind of remix or remake of his first record to try and cash in on whatever remaining fan base he might have, but no, this is a whole-ass new album. We're talking an album's worth of new material since Angelic to the Core, which honestly, after hearing how awful his old music was, I'm kind of yearning to listen to Angelic to the Core, just for familiarity's sake. At least there are some guilty pleasures off of that album, but nonetheless, let us now listen to the sequel to Love Left. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Love 2.1.
Feldman, prepare the love ray! And set it to chill.
We begin with intro in 3 parts: The Sound of War, The Invasion, Commander Feldman's Super Chill Love Ray. It's a 52-second intro that has all the cheesy camp you would want from a lolcal's music project. Going into the album proper, we have Arm Me With Love, which is another one of those short staccato funk rock things that he just loves doing and has been doing ever since the early 90s. We've seen several videos of Corey attempting this song live with his laughably cringe attempts at playing the harmonica. And you would think after hearing the heaps of crap from the first few CDs on this box set that I might be happy to hear some more modern Corey Feldman music, but oh my God, he's learned nothing! The award for the standout fuck-up of this new Feldog song goes to the drums. They are sloppy as hell. The hi-hat work feels rushed at times. The snare doesn't always hit directly on the beat. The kick doesn't always lock right in on the one. On top of all but that, this is the only beat that is played throughout the entire song. No drum fills, no variation. It's this drum pattern that carries the entire song. So much so that it sounds like it was looped in Pro Tools. After a certain point in the groove, there is a natural drum ring out that is abruptly gated or cut off, only to repeat the same exact sloppiness over again.
Without my rock and roll, I can't live.
This is what the beat would sound like if an actual drummer played it on time. This gave me a mighty sneaking suspicion. The clearly amateur drumming, paired with the knowledge that the Feldog had attempted to play drums on his latest tour, led me to one conclusion. Corey Feldman totally played the drums on this song. And after looking it up, 100% confirmed. Not only does Corey Feldman play drums on this song, he plays drums on like half the record. And when Corey is behind the drums, it is very obvious. This is peak Corey Feldman, having an ego so big that you actually believe that you possess so much talent that you can lay down all the instruments in the studio by yourself. And I mean, that's great if you can actually do it, But we all know he can't, and that's why we laugh at him. It's the ego. It's the hubris. This dude clearly sucks, but he is under the impression that he's great. Moving on after that traumatization, we have Rockin' Revolution, where Corey gives his worst rock and roll to really kick this song off. Yeah, we're rocking now. Yeah. Aside from this song being complete garbage, mainly due to Corey Feldman's vocals, the mix in general is just fascinating to listen to. Because even though I'm hearing guitar, drums, bass, and vocals, the mix is just so thin and dry, it just sounds like a demo.
Time has come with me.
Next we have Raising the Vibration. Well, if this is supposed to be a sequel to his first album, he certainly achieves that with this song. A shitty funk rock groove with Corey putting on his Michael Jackson affectation for the most part. Whenever he tries to sing in his gritty, constipated Gene Simmons tone, I can't unhear that gnarly sound in his vocals, which achieves the opposite effect of ASMR. This sound actually gives me anxiety. The next song we have is called A Beautiful Soul, which is another song about Corey Haim and is ruined by Corey Feldman's inability to be a capable singer. He's back to adding that faux soul tone to his voice. Aside from that, this is just a boring song that aspires to live up to some Bryan Adams schmaltz, but doesn't even come close to that. Up next is You Are Free, with the U and the R being letters, not words, because Corey Feldman lives in the same world of delusion as your 60-year-old aunt, who still keeps up with the latest Sabrina Carpenter song in an attempt to bask in the denial of their age as long as possible. As far as the song goes, it's a shitty funk ballad, mainly due to Corey's vocals, though the musical composition itself is actually pretty decent, if it had been released in like 1992. The next song, Dream a Little Dream 3.0, starts off with an interpolation of the original Dream a Little Dream sung by Mickey Thomas of Starship. You know, the band that did this 1980s gem.
We built this city on rock and roll.
The song then kicks into your typical Corey Feldman dry-ass studio production. All the backup vocals on these songs sound like a big fucking mess, just all stacked on top of each other with no stereo separation. Corey never fails to fail. Up next is a Corey Feldman instant classic, and at this point, I welcome it. This hot fire is called Comeback King.
I'm a comeback king. You know what I mean. When I'm gone.
This song actually isn't terrible if I'm being honest. It has a rare element that is lacking in most of Corey Feldman's songs. A fucking hook. I'm the comeback king. If you're gonna swing, better make it sting, 'cause I'm the comeback king. So many of his songs are just devoid of anything worth listening to, let alone a hook. But surprisingly, the Feldog was able to write an actual hook. If a legitimate band were to cover this song, it would probably go from isn't terrible to kind of cool. Oddly enough, I could see Primus covering this song. This is probably the only Corey Feldman song that comes close to me unironically liking it. The only problem is Corey's still trying to sing in that gruff rocker voice, though I will say it's a bit dialed back and not as constipated as his normal Gene Simmons impersonation. The next song, simply titled That Song, is probably one of the few Hey guys, Editing Bay Josh here. I'm interrupting my own review to contradict what I was saying here. In this review, I go on to say that song is one of Corey Feldman's first tongue-in-cheek songs, and if he just wrote more songs like this, then maybe he wouldn't be such a laughingstock. But then when I went and listened to the song again, it's really not tongue-in-cheek at all. He's being dead serious, and the song sucks. Alright, now we get to Nah Duddy Up. Jesus fucking Christ. Corey finally checked off the remainder of his shitty song bingo card and made an attempt at a reggae song. Guys, it was bound to fucking happen. Every washed up hack has to try their hand at white boy reggae. He is leaning fully into all of the Jamaican stereotypes and singing with a heavy Jamaican patois about smoking ganja and all the other cliches you would expect from a song like this, where a white dude from Hollywood all of a sudden has some kind of cultural wanderlust.
Don't be a ragamuffin, make a chaka-chaka. Hey, all around the display.
A bit of context to add to this, as if it matters. The Feldster and his family spent a good amount of time in Jamaica during the pandemic lockdowns, but unlike actual artists who take inspiration from a new location, Corey essentially boiled the Jamaican experience down into a cartoonish monoculture to be mocked and exploited. With that being said, though, would anyone actually expect Corey Feldman to live in Jamaica and not boil it down to its most immediate stereotypes? Would anybody expect, intelligent subtlety from this guy? Yeah, he doesn't exactly scream subtlety. When you started your life off being famous, I think it becomes nearly impossible to have any kind of relation to the common man, no matter what country you're vacationing in. Up next is By Got 2.1, because we needed another version of that fucking song. It's a slightly higher quality recording of the original with more guitars. Whatever, disregard it. So now we have Oh Courtney, which is a song Corey wrote for his now ex-wife, Courtney Ann Mitchell. I gotta think this is some kind of equivalent to getting your girlfriend's name tattooed on your body only to break up with them down the road. And as far as this song goes, when you think about where did the marriage go wrong, there could be a bunch of different indicators in this particular situation. I think whenever you have to dedicate a song on a record to your significant other, that is the beginning of the end. Before I even heard this song, I automatically thought this was obviously going to be some kind of ballad, but oh no!
I hear all sorts of people say that love songs are not cool. I look at all those winners flap.
It's a boogie-woogie jam session that not even the most desperate of Elvis impersonators would sing over. This shit sucks. I wish there were more descriptors for the word sucks in the English language, but there are only so many ways I can express to you just how not good this is. I only wish I could have been a fly on the wall when Corey first showed this song to his then wife. I would have loved to have seen the forced smile and the requisite "Aw, thanks, babe," after the song was over, because the whole thing would have been so forced, and in that moment, she would have been a better actor than Corey Feldman ever was. So for the next song, the song right after the song he wrote for his then wife, he chooses Quit Ghosting Me as the follow-up song. There is no chance in hell this was just happenstance. Okay, Corey, what do you have to say on Quit Ghosting Me? So the intro starts out interestingly enough, actually, with this distorted bass groove paired with a panning distorted vocal with an established groove, when all of a sudden... What the hell was that? The Feldster is experimenting with different tempo changes, and it's executed with the precision of a lumberjack performing open heart surgery. The last official song on this record is called Without You, which was dedicated to Lisa Marie Presley's late son Benjamin, who apparently Corey was good friends with. This may sound cynical or fucked up or whatever, but why do I get the feeling that Corey Feldman uses his dead celebrity friends to bring more of a spotlight onto his own career? I don't know, man. I just kind of get that sense from him, and I definitely feel like he'd be the kind of person to do something like that. Anyway, this song sucks. Corey is leaning into that Bryan Adams adult contemporary shtick, and though it may be authentic for him, lyrically it's just more cliches upon cliches about being there forever and I'll be there whenever you need me. Whatever, thank God it's done now. There are 2 remixes on this album after the last song, but can you honestly take any more after this? Yeah, me neither. So that was the entire Love Left 2.1 box set. Next time, I'm going to be way more cautious of what I wish for when starting a GoFundMe, because I just assumed that nobody was actually going to donate the money needed for me to purchase this thing for review purposes, but it happened. So now I'm putting my whole heart into giving you everything you want from this thing. This was a lengthy-ass experience that pretty much took up the entire month of January, and I still never got to those DVDs that came with the box set. Yeah, I'm saving those babies for something special. Anyway, I think I've said all I have to say about this box set. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, have a good rest of your night. What the fuck are you doing? Go away!